The Moog Sound Studio is really an amazing selection of semi-modular synths. Each one has its really interesting set of features and opens up so many options for sound design. This can be expanded even further with the addition of patching the modules together with other modules. Each module features a range of outputs and inputs for your routing pleasure. A new addition to the Moog range, the Mavis. One thing that makes this really interesting as a synth is that it's a self-assembly unit, and coming in at approximately half the price of the other units. It's really exciting to see Moog release stuff into this price range. As usual, the packaging is up to the same high standards. We've got a welcome note as we open the box up, and the box is patterned with schematics. We're presented with an empty faceplate as soon as we open it up. Next we can see a range of compartments. In the centre we've got a well packaged circuit board and with an anti-static bag. And next we've got a little white box. This is not easy to open one-handed, but this is the power supply. And it's nice, it includes a range of power adapters for a range of countries. So I recently bought a Korg and that didn't even come with a power supply at all. You had to buy that separately. You could only run it off batteries. So it's good to see that even at this price point, we're not cutting corners to try and keep the cost low. It's still a well thought out product. Okay, next we've got, well, I think there's some posters and some patch leads. And once more, it's great they include the patch leads. It would have been so easy at this price point not to include them. And it would have been so disappointing to build this up and have this patch bay and not be able to use it. So that's really good. Next we've got the case. Once more, it's a bonus that it includes a dust cover. So I'm expecting that this to have less features, but we're actually getting extra features at this price point, so I'm really impressed. I think that's it. Oh no, we've got some parts and some tools here. And then we've also got some instructions and some patch cards. So once we build this up, we'll try out each of the example patches and see what they sound like. Once more, the detail in the packaging is so cool. I wonder if the schematic on the side resembles the product at all. I really don't want to like a box. It should just be a box. It should be opened, used, recycled. But I kind of like it. One thing I find really interesting is self-assembly. The parts will all need extra packaging and the tools to create. It may need spare parts and people will do it wrong. All of these will add cost, not necessarily save cost. So does this balance with the time saved at Moog? Does it make it cheaper for them? I guess I will feel more connected to an instrument I've made and assembled myself, even if it was just putting a few screws in a case. So speaking of which, the case does look great. Let's have a look at the faceplate. This appears to be a very similar design to the other semi-modular synths in the Moog range, a black background with silver text. I wonder if these will be offered as a complete unit or only will be self-assembled. I would imagine not everyone will be happy to self-assemble. Though, does it put you off? I'd love to know, let me know. So this is the front panel. It looks pretty good and it fits well with the other synths in the range. But part of me would like to see a bit more colour, a bit more style injected into it. I'd like to see the bright colours similar to the grandmother, and that would be really interesting, even if it was just like a sticker overlay. So now we have this free. I think the circuit board is going to be the next part we need. Once more, it's well packaged, and I do wonder how much of a saving the self-assembly really is. It'd be interesting if they created a complete kit where it was to be soldered together, though looking at how complex this is, it would probably result in some issues. So this is the brains of it all. Looking closer, you can see how densely packed this is. There's a lot of SMD devices hidden between the potentiometers. One thing self-assembly does is it makes you appreciate what's inside these devices. On this end, we've got a port, and this looks to be connecting the unit up through a standard Eurorack power connection. So let's go back to the happy bag and let's get this open. We've got these clear sticks or light pipes, And these are for letting the light from the LED on the circuit board for the LFO to reach the front face of the faceplate. So let's put this in the faceplate. And then let's put the faceplate onto the circuit board. There's a switch that sits at an angle, and the key buttons need a little bit of a shake to get them to line, but it's not too difficult. That seems to look a lot better. So let's flip this over and get it screwed together. A screwdriver is not included in the kit, but these are fairly common, easy to get hold of, so shouldn't be an issue. And if you want to get into Eurorack systems, it's going to be a good advice to kind of get hold of some basic tools. There's 5 screws at the rear, and this looks like it should be sufficient to hold the board. I do like the bird logo on the rear. Is this a standard thing for Moog? I have no idea. Other reviews don't give you questions with no answers, and that is why I hope we are here. While putting the screws in, I did notice that what looks to be labelled test points. I'll have to check what these are for, but once more, there's another unanswered question, but I enjoy the detail of it. So now the circuit board is connected to the faceplate, let's get this fixed into the case. And I'm going to attach a nut to each of the jacks. I think this is going to be the longest part of the build, putting all these nuts on. We've got a green tool provided, and this is quite a nice feature, as if you were to use a metal tool, it would be very easy to kind of mark the front face of the faceplate. It's just scratch it up and it would definitely spoil the look of the unit. They have included spare parts for each of the small loose items. And this is great because if any of them were lost or damaged, it means you can still complete the build. So finally I'm just going to put the corner screws in that attach the faceplate to the case. One thing I noticed that there's not a nut for the VCA mode switch. The spare nut is too large. I guess it's not essential though it would be nice if it had it. When looking at the instructions, we can see that the engineering image of the unit, there is a nut drawn on that switch. But when looking through the bill of materials, there isn't a nut shown in that size. And also on the exploded view, it doesn't show a nut being put on here. So I guess this is the way it should be. But then, if you look at our Mother 32, all of the switches here have nuts on. Switches do see a lot of force when used, and if the solder joint is going to fail, it's usually going to be at the switch, especially if it's not attached to a faceplate. So it should be interesting to see if that becomes a failure point on these units. It might be fine, there might be some kind of adhesive attached to the board or some other mechanism, but I do find it a little odd. I really like the colour of these patch leads and I can't wait to see them plugged in. Let's look through the rest of the stuff. We've got a warranty card, and once more I really like the design here. It's so easy to kind of miss over these details. And next we've got a little metal sticker, so this goes on the back of the unit and details the inputs and outputs and gives you the size of the unit, which is really good. So if you want to put this in a Eurorack case, you know what width it is. We also got this adjustment tool, and this allows the internal potentiometers to be adjusted from the outside without taking it apart. The unit has these holes on the faceplate that allow for the tool to enter and make adjustments. One difference I've noticed with the Mother 32 is the faceplate is etched, and this results in not silver but actually like a metallic shiny finish on the writing, whereas on the Mavis it's actually painted. And it's only a small detail, but you can see it's there, so there is a small difference in quality between these two units. And that's expected, they are different. The Mavis also doesn't have any larger knobs, so it's all small knobs, and that's fine, but this can limit some accuracy of fine adjustment. One feature I do like though, is that the patch bay is now on the other side, compared to the previous semi-modular synths. So when the units are pushed together, the cables can be together, and there is a little bit of a height difference here, and I would like to have seen this being a little bit closer, but I've got an idea. I know what I can do here. So let's get FreeCAD open. We can create a little bracket, and this can clip onto the case and support the unit at the right height. I've tried to use as little plastic as possible, and I'll share the files in the description if anyone else is interested in this themselves. I've printed this in a similar green to the patch cables, so it should tie in. Libraries and makerspaces commonly have 3D printers that the public can use, and the cost of materials is less than $1. And this is just designed to clip onto that front case without any damage or adjustment required. So it does take a little bit of force to push these together. Ta-da! This seems much better. Maybe it didn't need this, but it does make me happier having them at similar heights. Oh, and this is interesting. So while looking at the patch cards, we can see that the holes for the jacks have been enlarged so that they fit the nuts. Whereas on the Switch, the hole is actually quite small. So I guess this is the way it's meant to be. We've got this built up. I think we need to have a play and see what it sounds like. We've got some typical wave and patch controls, a beautiful Moog filter and resonance controls, and a full set of attack, decay, sustain and release, and then an LFO with some controls. I'm not going to go through all the features. I'm sure there'll be better videos or resources for that, such as the manual. But one thing that really jumps out to me is this fold control. This is really interesting and it allows you to manipulate the wave shape. I do like the bassy sounds you can get from this. And my plan is to kind of make a follow-up video with some different presets that I've found and enjoyed. But let's have a look at the preset patches that are already been provided. So the first one is fold and bass. So we put this over the unit and we set each knob or patch cable to where it's shown on the card. And now we've got a detuned dual square. And then we've got a foldable kick drum. And now we've got a buzz saw. And who needs a sequencer? I like the humour in this one because I guess one of the biggest criticisms of this unit is it doesn't have a built-in sequencer. But as it can be wired into almost any other modular gear, does it need it? That does sound pretty chaotic. So overall, I really do like the synth. I really like seeing the bass sounds that this is capable of, and the wave folding allows for some new interesting sounds and controls. The self-assembly was easy to do, and I do like products that encourage others to look inside and build their own equipment. And the equipment isn't a magic box. The stuff inside can be understood and shouldn't be feared. It should be tweaked, improved, and maybe even broken at times. This unit is definitely a gateway into a Eurorack addiction, and I do wonder what else will follow this. If Moog were to release a few more products of a similar price and size that would knit together, that would be really interesting. I would find it very difficult to turn those down. Would I recommend this as a first synthesizer? No. But if you're interested in modular and want something to get you interested in a semi-modular, absolutely yes.